Welcome, Assistant Secretary Nason. I'm glad to have you here. Secretary Chow appeared before this committee in May of 2017, and when she did, I asked her how sea level rise is affecting our coastal infrastructure. As you and I discussed in my office, Rhode Island has 400 miles of coast, and the measured sea level rise is a very serious and significant issue for us. The Secretary agreed to look into the issue, and I followed up with a letter to her that I would ask to be made a part of the record of the hearing.
Without objection.
Before receiving the Secretary's formal response, we managed to get our hands on the draft response, the letter that the career staff sent up to the Secretary's office for her final approval. And then shortly after that, we got the letter from the Secretary's office. When you compare the two letters, you see some pretty significant notable differences, which I have redlined here. One is that the phrase sea level rise here is struck out of the career letter, and the word rise is replaced with variations. The term variations implies wrongly that the sea level rise that we're seeing now in Rhode Island is consistent with natural changes over, geologic time, when in fact the current rise in sea levels is a direct consequence of human activity, of carbon pollution, and it's occurring at rates that humankind hasn't seen in thousands and thousands of years. And we actually measure this stuff at Naval Station Newport. So there's that change. Then down here, the political staff, presumably in the Secretary's office, struck out environmental conditions such as extreme weather events and climate change. Well, we live in Rhode Island in a world of extreme weather events and climate change, and I think we all do. So what worries me about this is that it looks like we're seeing political censoring for ideological purposes. And I think that the climate denial and the censoring and the nonsense has got to stop. We may have disagreements about what to do about climate change. We ought to be having a bipartisan discussion about solutions. But this business of just striking it out of letters so that it doesn't even come up and we're not even allowed to talk about it is ridiculous. So it forces me to ask you your assurance that you will not censor and ignore the facts and the science in the manner in which you go about your duties as the Federal Highway Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Senator Whitehouse. I'm unfamiliar with this issue, and I haven't seen the letter.
And I don't expect you to defend the letter or any of this. My point is that this is a continuing problem dealing with this administration. And for those of us that have coastal infrastructure and that are coastal states, to have a Federal Highway Administrator who will pay attention to real facts and real science is a matter of importance.
At NHTSA, we always said good data is king.
Good.
And I am a firm believer in good data, so I can commit to you that we will give you the best possible information. I also wrote down the words political retaliation. That is not something that I have ever accepted either at the State Department or at NHTSA. I've never seen any indications of that, but I can assure you I would not support having staff feel intimidated for any reason.
Good. One of the reasons that this is important is this Providence Journal headline from just a few days ago: climate change, washed away, home values lost to rising sea levels. What the study that formed the basis for this front page above the fold article in my home state newspaper shows is that Rhode Island has lost nearly $45 million in home appreciation values between 2005 and 2017. It is the Rhode Island part of a study that began in Florida and went up the coast through New Jersey. It hit Massachusetts when it hit Rhode Island, so Senator Markey has the same study now. And if you look at all the different states that have been reviewed in this, what was originally a peer-reviewed study in Florida and has moved the same methodology to cover other states, there's a total of $15 billion lost in coastal home values. That is a big deal for these families and businesses, and it can't be ignored. And they're not alone. If you go on to look at their report, pull up the other one. Here's what one of the authors of the report said. Each time we analyze a new state, we see the same phenomenon. Increased tidal flooding leads to a loss in home value appreciation. As sea level rise accelerates, we expect the corresponding loss in relative home value to accelerate as well. I can't ignore that, and I can't allow administration agencies to ignore that either. Go on to Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac is not an environmental organization. It's not a green organization. It's not a Democrat organization. It's a housing organization. And what Freddie Mac has warned is that rising sea levels and spreading floodplains appear likely to destroy billions of dollars in property and to displace millions of people. The economic losses and social disruption may happen gradually, but they are likely to be greater in total than those experienced in the housing crisis and Great Recession. I just want to make those points because it shows how important it is to us to be getting fair and factual and properly based scientific determinations out of our federal agencies, because this stuff is serious and it's big and it's coming at us. Thank you to the chairman for letting me go over my time.
Thank you very much.